Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast. John Ledyard is out right now. He is suffering from amnesia where he still thinks he's covering the Steelers right now. Excuse me. So he's actually breaking down some Steelers tape, and we haven't had the heart to tell him that he covers the Bucs now. So I am your host, Matt Matera, and joined with me is the one and only SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. We're pleased to report that John Ledyard will not be going on injury reserve, unlike Travis Etienne in Jacksonville. That's some damning news right there for the Jaguars. Nor is he in the COVID protocols. But I guess there was some news today, Matt, at One Buck Place. We've got a very important Buccaneer player that has tested positive for COVID, I believe twice. Who is that person? You were out there at practice today.
Yeah, so Bruce Arians dropped the news to us after practice today, and this is a player that is near and dear to your heart, Scott. Yes. I believe he's second in the rankings behind, of course, none other than Blaine Gabbert. But this was the kicker, Ryan Succop, who tested positive for COVID this morning, which is a little scary because he was at practice this week with the other Bucs players. And obviously there was the news about Mike Vrabel, how he tested positive, the Titans head coach. So that was big news coming out of that. Apparently he went out to dinner with some Titans players that he was friends with while the Titans were in town. And as we just spoke about, the Titans team and the head coach has COVID right now. So it went to Ryan Succop, but Bruce Arians confirmed that he is the only player, excuse me, he's the only player on the Bucs roster that tested positive for COVID. That means he won't be playing in Saturday's preseason game against the Houston Texans. So this is a huge opportunity for the other kicker out of Miami. I call him Jose B because I have a little trouble pronouncing his last name.
What is the last name?
I believe it's Borregales. Did I say that right?
I have no idea, but we're going to go with it.
Yeah. And it's funny because Jenna Lane and I were speaking today after all the press conferences and everything. He hasn't really had too much of an opportunity in the preseason right now, strictly because the Bucs just haven't been scoring. You know, they scored 9 points in the opening preseason game, and the only extra point they had was that cockamamie fake field goal that they went to the 2-yard line and kicked it from there, and then they went for a 2-point conversion on their other touchdown. And then obviously against the Titans, they only scored 3 points, and it was a field goal kicked by Ryan Succop. So Jose B has not really had any opportunities to kick field goals. He did some kickoffs, but he's been doing great in during training camp.
Yeah, he really has. Yeah, he's put together some really fantastic days. I think that he's got to be the odds-on favorite to be the practice squad kicker. Succop had a rough start to camp, but has really rebounded, like you said, hit the 49-yarder in the game. That bodes well for him. Listen, I mean, they signed him to a 4-year contract extension, making $12 million over the course of that deal, $3 million a year. So Ryan Succop is going to get the benefit of the doubt. He set the franchise record for 136 points last year, made over 90% of his field goals in extra points. But the good news is Jose B gets a look-see, an extended look-see, and hopefully kicking extra points too, because some of those extra points are just as long, if not longer, than field goals. So let's see some touchdowns on this board from this anemic Bucs offense this preseason. Get the fans excited.
And we better get it. I mean, they're playing against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, you better.
And it looks like the starters, we don't know exactly how much, but Bruce Arians said that they're going to get a significant amount of time. Does that mean playing, the whole first half? We'll see. But regardless, playing against a roster like the Houston Texans, you got to expect, whether it's Tom Brady for a long amount of time or Blaine Gabbert for a long amount of time, you got to expect they're going to at least get to the red zone a fair amount where Jose B can get some opportunities. And as we were saying, he's been doing well in practice, but Bruce Arians always hammers home he's got to get game opportunities. Let's see how he does in the game. It's a whole different animal. It's a whole different beast, as they say, going into a game itself. So this is a really good opportunity for him to get those chances to kick in, I don't want to say high-stakes situations, because I don't think this game is going to really go down to the wire.
I hope
but this please not.
At least get out to a big lead at halftime, right? And keep this fan base.
But Scott, this is exactly why, though. You keep an extra kicker on that practice squad and why you protect him
Exactly.
for this literal situation that the Bucs now see themselves in.
Exactly. You said the word hammered. I am not hammered right now. I've been drinking water all day. Let's just clear that up right now. But what I did hammer this morning, Matt, was a tasty beverage that we love. And I'm so excited because I got the orange back in stock in my house.
Let's go.
Yes.
The GOAT, the OG
Yes.
of Celsius flavors. The thing I love about Celsius, Scott, is the fact that you don't get any of those jittery feelings after you have an energy drink.
Yes.
And it's not just the fact that these flavors are so good. I'm rocking also with my Living Golf Life mug.
Love it.
I'm rocking the Kiwi Guava right now.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about it most is the flavor is fantastic. I think that's why orange is the GOAT, because it tastes like you're drinking orange soda, but you're not actually drinking soda.
Yes.
It's the variety of flavors that they have, Scott. I mean, you got the new tropical vibes that they've come out with. You got grape. You got the Celsius Heat. You got the blueberry pomegranate. That's my personal favorite. There's so many different flavors, more than any other energy drink company.
Totally.
Like, you go look around. Celsius has the most diverse group of flavors that you could find when it comes to energy drink. That's the biggest thing for me that blows me away. But there's still so much more that comes with it.
And the thing too, Matt, is when it says it's orange, it tastes like orange. When it says it's grape, it tastes like grape. When it says strawberry guava, it tastes like strawberry guava. They nail the flavors. I don't know what type of scientists they employ there, but I mean, these guys nail the flavors. They really do. And you mentioned no jitters. The thing I like is no crash, because there's other energy drinks I've had where I've drank one of those and you get that rush of energy for an hour or two, maybe 3 hours, and all of a sudden, boom, you're ready to take a nap because you're crashing. That doesn't happen with Celsius. Do what I did. Save money by shopping at Amazon. You can hit the subscribe and save. They'll send you a case. And the great part about it is you can reorder those. You can program it in. You can have them delivered a couple weeks, a couple months later, whatever you want. And so you set it and forget it, and you save 5 cents, or not 5 cents, 5% or 15%, depending on how much you order. It's a great way to save money. So go to Amazon. And the other thing I hammered in, and this is kind of getting to be
I was going to bring that up next.
For me, is the fast energy bars.
That's right.
These protein bars are phenomenal. I had the salted caramel peanut crunch today. They also have those available on Amazon. With the cookies and cream as well. So 2 great flavors to accompany your Celsius. It's a great way to start your day with a fast energy bar and a Celsius.
Yes, 20 grams of protein, low sugar, low carbs, and no GMOs. Make sure you click on the banners on PeterReport.com. Get your Celsius energy drinks, get your energy bars, anything you need. You know it's great flavor. You heard it from us first, but try it for yourself. We know you'll love it. That's Celsius Energy, and we thank them for being a sponsor, the proud sponsor of the Peter Report podcast. Now,
no doubt,
some other players spoke yesterday as well. We had Mike Edwards and Tanner Hudson. That was intriguing because Tanner Hudson, we obviously know the big story. He's Mr. August. He dominates when it comes to being a receiving tight end in the preseason. He has 10 receptions for, I believe, 122 yards, if I did my math correctly.
He's Mr. August, Matt. That's just what he does. He catches passes, he gets yards, he fumbles sometimes, but hey,
he fumbles when the ground causes him to fumble.
It's happened twice now. It's kind of crazy, right? I mean, the ground can't cause a fumble, but that happened in Cincinnati. They blew it dead, as they should have. It happened against Tennessee. They didn't blow it dead. They should have. Horrible call, but you got to hold on to the ball. But that's not the biggest gripe by Bruce Arians. His biggest gripe is the blocking. So, we had a major story blow up on PeterReport.com about that a couple weeks ago, and Arians mentioned that Tanner Hudson's regressed as a blocker. What did Tanner Hudson have to say about it?
Yeah, block somebody,
he didn't mention him, but
block anybody. Yeah. That's essentially what Coach Arians has said. And Coach Arians kind of doubled down on it the other day as well, too. He essentially said, yeah, it's great that he can do all these things as a wide receiver, but he's not a wide receiver. He's a tight end. He has to block. He has to show he could block. So Tanner Hudson, of course, was asked about that. And to his credit, he took it in stride. Basically, what he was talking about was, hey, the fact that he's still looking at me, he's still coaching me up, it shows that he cares. It shows that he wants me to get better. And, Tanner Hudson isn't an idiot. He understands that he has to get better at his blocking, and that's going to allow him to make the team, because clearly he is head and shoulders ahead of all of the other competition whether it's Jarrell Adams or Cody McElroy. We saw his opportunity in the preseason game, and it literally went through his hands and turned into an interception. Kyle Trask's second interception of the game. So as far as receiving, sure, they all did some great things in training camp practice, but the preseason itself, it was Tanner Hudson. But Tanner Hudson has not locked up that spot because of his inability to block well. And he said he's working on it. He said he's going to rely on some of the veteran guys, get some advice from them, most namely, obviously, Rob Gronkowski and Cam Brate. So he's saying all the right things. It's just a matter of, can he prove it to Coach Arians in his eyes? Will he be able to be that blocker that the Bucs could use for their fourth tight end?
Well, and he's one of the guys we're going to be talking about when it comes to the Bucs depth chart battles today. We're going to be spending the next 30, 40 minutes or so going through each one of these battles, and that's on there. And it's not really that Tanner Hudson is going up against another tight end. I think he's better than Cody McElroy, certainly better than Jarrell Adams at this point. But can he stick as tight end number 4, or will the Bucs go with 7 wide receivers, only 3 tight ends? So that's something we'll talk about in just a minute. But now that we got a pretty decent crowd in here, I wanted to let everybody know about a special new initiative we have going on here that I think is really going to be special. We call it Pewter Game Day. You heard John Ledger talk about this yesterday. And we're going to be doing this every single week, starting with this Saturday's game. 8 o'clock, you're going to log on to pewterreport.com for Pewter Game Day. Now, what is Pewter Game Day? Well, it's live in-game commentary from John Ledyard, and the Pewter Reporters will be having special guests. You will be popping on. I'll be popping on. John will be kind of doing the main hosting of the show. And what it is he's watching the game. You out there in Pewter Nation, you're watching the game, whether it's at your house, on your phone, at a sports bar, whatever, and you're basically having a virtual conversation about it. He's providing his expert analysis, injury updates as we know them, as they're happening in real time, answering your questions in real time, and putting some of your comments up. So think about it like the Pewter Report podcast, but during the game itself. So,
yeah, exactly, Scott. Think of this, Pewter Report fans. Think of this as the live draft show that we do every year for the NFL draft. We do 3 days of coverage, live coverage throughout the whole time. Normally it's you, Scott, and like this year it was you and John for the majority of it. And it's essentially going to be that, but condensed into just a game form. So you're going to get all of our analysis, all of our instant reactions to the great plays, the bad plays, everything else in between. And as you know, listen, obviously the first night of the draft is always so much fun. It's the first round.
Hold on, Matt. There's a big difference. Sometimes the draft show goes like 8 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
The good thing is Pewter Game Day happens from kickoff to the end of the game. And then after that, as you'll see, we're followed by the Pewter Report post-game podcast 1 hour after that game concludes. The great thing is you can watch it live on pewterreport.com. That's all you got to do. Go to pewterreport.com. You can watch it on YouTube. We would like for you to watch it on pewterreport.com because we'll have it embedded there on our channel, on the website, just like we did the draft shows. So make sure you do that Saturday, 8 o'clock. And then, of course, we'll be doing it during the regular season as well for every Bucs game. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. The point I just wanted to make real quick is, yes, it is just going to be for the game itself. So it won't be 10, 15 hours like the draft. Right. But as you know, for those who have watched the draft, yes, day one is super fun because you're talking about a first round pick that most likely, unless you're the Bucs and your roster is extremely stacked, is going to play right away or at least make an impact on this team, even though Joe Tryon-Shoyinka still will. But we still get a lot of fun on day 3. Sometimes things get a little delirious. We start cracking more jokes. Things go on. I can't help but think if we did it for the last preseason game, I mean, the Bucs got blown out, and it was a bit of a struggle to watch that third and fourth quarter.
Pewter Game Day. As a matter of fact, Pewter Game Day would be more entertaining than the game itself.
Exactly. So that's where you're gonna see that the delirium, the jokes, all that stuff comes in. Maybe for the regular season, hopefully, and most likely, it'll be the Bucs blowing out the other teams, and so we can all have a good time celebrating the win, plus all the other things we've seen. So please tune in on Saturday. It's going to be a ton of fun, and throughout the whole season.
Absolutely. And then again, we'll have the Pewter Report post-game podcast following that an hour after the game, after we get Bruce and the players. Some breaking news from the Advent Health Training Center. JC Allen says Ryan Succop on the reserve COVID list. We've talked about that, but the Bucs have waived Chidi Okeke, the tackle that they signed during camp, and running back Troy Maine Pope has landed on injured reserve, which means he cleared waivers as an injured player. So he's on injured reserve right now, and we'll see how long he lasts there. Didn't really make that much of an impression in camp. I think the Bucs are 4 deep at running back, and I think that's all they're going to contend with. I don't even think they're going to have a practice squad running back necessarily, just because I think they like all 4 of their backs. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a chance CJ Prosise makes it, but as far as the practice squad, but the fact that, there's so much competition at all these different positions, namely offensive line, defensive back, and even the defensive line, where they might not be able to keep all of these guys. Yeah. And they're most likely going to take those practice squad opportunities. So we'll see. If I were to bet on it, I'd probably say not going to be the case, but hey, you never know.
Yeah. So a couple things about Peter Game Day real quick. Carl Jackson, I agree. You will definitely hear a Leonard from John or myself if there is an instance where he fumbles the ball, doesn't catch the ball, or runs into the back of one of his offensive linemen rather than hitting a hole.
Yeah.
I don't mean Michael Henderson, feel free to insult the other team's players.
Yes, of course. I don't mean to laugh when I hear the Leonard thing, but because I want Leonard Fournette to do well. Obviously, it's the best for the Bucs if he does well. But I will say there were a couple times in training camp where John and I are next to each other and we're watching, and Leonard drops a pass or doesn't have a good run, and we both turn to each other and we go, Leonard, like we whisper it. Obviously, we're not yelling it, but we're like, Leonard.
It's become a staple in the report staff for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Listen, Mark Cook was the master of the segues, but we have got a fantastic segue right here from Harvinder. Which running back has stood out in practice so far? Well, that's fantastic. That's a great opportunity, Matt, for us to go right to our list and take a look at those Bucs depth chart battles. Let's start right there with the first one, which is running back battle. Ronald Jones versus Leonard Fournette. This is great because Saturday's game, I think, is going to really determine who the opening day starter is. We've seen Ronald Jones get named to the top of the depth chart. We've seen in practice Leonard Fournette get the first carries more often than not, and got the first carry in the game against Cincinnati. But we both know that a certain Bruce Arians likes to go with the hot hand. Play both guys, go with the hot hand. I think whoever emerges with more production in this preseason finale is going to be the hot hand and start the season. Do you agree, Matt?
I agree tenfold. And to answer, I believe it was Harvinder's question, the running back that has stood out the most is Giovanni Bernard, without question, in this preseason so far. But this is not the battle that we're going into. At the end of the day, both guys are going to get their touches, so it's a very interesting battle. But I think, both, it's not like, okay, if one guy is the starter, you're not going to see the other guy at all, like it is with, a battle on the offensive line. And I did write in our PR roundtable today which running back has to, or not which running back, which player in general has to have a really good third preseason game. And I said Ronald Jones, because ultimately I think the Bucs offense is better when Ronald Jones is in the game. Both running backs, I think, are physical runners. Yeah. You could also say possibly a violent runner. But Leonard Fournette puts a little finesse into his game as well, too. But I think that hurts him for this Bucs offense, where he might dance a little bit or maybe not be able to get to the outside as quickly as he could because he's assessing the situation. Where I think Ronald Jones, he helps bring a rhythm to this offense. And it's weird because they didn't score on this drive, but I think of the Super Bowl where Rojo, ultimately he got stopped at the 1 yard line on that 4th and goal. But that whole drive, I think, in my opinion, was one of the best offensive drives for the Bucs, because it was one of those the Bucs, listen, they clearly kicked the crap out of the Chiefs. They got some help with penalties here and there. And I'm not saying the Bucs won the game because of the penalties, but that drive with Rojo, they just kept feeding him. He was jamming it down the throats of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that's when the Bucs offense can really be at its best. When they don't think too much, they just give Rojo the ball and he's getting 5, 6, 7 yards carry. then you got the play action going, and obviously all the weapons that the Bucs have on offense. I think Rojo, despite all of his issues with catching the ball, but again, that's why you bring Giovanni Bernard in. He can handle those situations, and you can even come in on a first or second down to spell these guys if you know you're going to run a play that's pass-centric and you can get him the ball. Yeah, I really think Rojo gives the offense their best chance to win. They're going to be good no matter what, but I have high expectations for Rojo. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that he'll be the better back on Saturday, and I think he'll be the starter come opening night, if you will, against the Cowboys. Mitch Chimera brings up a good point. Fournette has been more durable, right? We did see at the end of the season, Rojo's like, so close to getting 1,000 yards. And he had the broken pinky. He had a COVID incident.
Yeah.
And then for that Washington game, had the thigh injury, right? So, there have been times when Leonard Fournette got it in his own way during the season, but he was durable. He did go wire to wire. And even the game he was a scratch in, it was a healthy scratch against the Vikings. So I believe that comes into play too. Listen, you have to have two backs in this day and age in the NFL.
Right, absolutely.
Especially in 17 games.
And without question, I mean, Leonard Fournette got that opportunity because Rojo was hurt, and he literally took the ball and ran with it. And he sees that opportunity. He pretty much, lose yourself in the moment, Eminem. He took his shot and it became the number one guy, and obviously did everything that he did in the postseason. And I know Rojo got hurt at the end of the year, but he doesn't concern me as someone that is chronically injured, like we've seen with some other running backs. And Leonard Fournette in the past has had not the best injury history. Now, granted, he was a one-man show with Jacksonville, and clearly he's going to share all the carries here with the Bucs, so obviously that'll help with his durability. But I don't look going into this season thinking like, oh, well, Rojo got hurt last year. This could be the situation again. I mean, Chris Godwin was a guy that missed time last year and the year before that, and I don't think anyone looks at Chris Godwin as, oh, he's a guy that gets injured all the time.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. Speaking of injured, we got a great super chat from William Butler there. Appreciate that.
Thank you, William.
What's the word on O.J. Howard's progression? I think you mean regression, because I think he's regressing a little bit. Listen, he's got some rust to shake off, and that's fair. That's okay, because that's understandable, right? He had an Achilles injury. That is a thank you for the super sticker, Brian. That's not a
thank you, Brian.
It's not an injury that's easy to recover from, right? Because basically, when you have a torn Achilles, you can't use your foot. Okay, it's like it's when you have a knee injury. We've seen guys walk off the field, right, with the torn ACL, or play with the torn MCL, like Tom Brady did. Mm-hmm. But when you can't walk, literally, because your foot won't cooperate, that's a significant injury. Then when you're a football player and you're a tight end and you're asked to block in the trenches and put pressure on that Achilles as you fire off the ball, or when you fire off the line of scrimmage to go run your route and then plant that foot and go to turn and get into your breaks. It's a mental thing with OJ right now, and it's affecting his catching, I think.
That's the key right there, Scott. As much as it is for OJ getting back into the offense, making sure that Achilles is healthy and going all systems go, as they say, I really think it comes down to a mental thing. And I'm not blaming him, because it's tough for anyone to come back from a serious injury like that. And I think you saw it in the preseason game. Sure, he made 3 catches, but the 3 catches he made were all pretty much the same route. It was like 7 or 8 yards down the field, turn around, bam, the ball's right there. Any of those difficult contested catches, the third down, the one down the field where he was wide open, could have caught it in stride and kept going. He's going against second and third string guys right there. And O.J. Howard is a former first-round pick. He should be getting the better of these players, and he really wasn't in that situation. He's got all the talent in the world. I really think it comes down to getting over that mental hurdle. And Bruce Arians said after the game, he was still complimentary of OJ. He said that he's not worried about the drops at all. But I'm curious if that's just a vote, trying to give him a vote of confidence and not trying to squash any of the doubts that he might have in his head currently.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Getting back one little period or exclamation point, whatever you want to say, for the running game, I think they're going to come out and really try to establish the run on Saturday. I think that they did so much passing in training camp, and they got a little bit of a look in practice in those 2 days against the Titans. But again, you're not doing full tackling, right? You're not taking people to the ground. I would suspect Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich going to come out and really try to run the ball, which is going to make not just Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones excited, also Harold Goodwin, the run game coordinator, make him excited too. Because I think that they have neglected the run game in terms of the proficiency of it. They've run the ball in practice, right? But it's kind of been an afterthought. And it's kind of like, well, that's the Bucs offense. So Mark Fisher, I hope that answers your question. I think they're going to now listen. They're not going to make it a priority during the season. This is a pass first team. Look no further than the quarterback whisperer head coach, the former quarterback, offensive coordinator, the greatest quarterback of all time under center, and Tom Brady. Right? Those are three guys that control the offense. If they're going to pass the ball, and why wouldn't you with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you do have to run the ball on occasion. You need to have some balance. It does help. It's not necessary, but it helps when you have play action to be able to have a credible running game. And so I suspect that they're going to try to work on that. Otherwise, that's going to be a big bone of contention. Listen, it's hard to judge with just the starters in there for 6 plays whether this running game got going in the preseason, because a lot of it was with the backups. But I think you're going to see it on Saturday.
I agree, Scott. I mean, and granted, it's the preseason. And again, I guess shameless plug here. I spoke about this in our PR roundtable with getting the run game going. And yes, I spoke about Rojo. And like I said, yes, it's the preseason. But through the 2 games, and I don't care if it's the second string, third string, whoever, the Bucs averaged 1.7 yards per carry in that first game and 1.3 yards per rush in that second game. I mean, that is ugly no matter what.
It's like you're not even trying at that point.
Exactly. You're not even trying. And Bruce spoke about that after the game too. He said, we focused on running a lot in the joint practices against the Titans, so it wasn't really an emphasis.
Okay, fine, but every time you called a run play, you didn't want to average 1.2 yards per carry. Okay, that's the fact.
Yeah, I mean, you're already putting yourself in a hole at 2nd and 10. Yeah. So, okay, well, you're going to try to run it again? All right, well, now you got 30. I guarantee
you, like, Keyshawn Vaughn didn't like the fact that he averaged like 2 yards per carry, right, in the preseason. Guarantee you the offensive line got chewed out a little bit by Goodwin and
Joe Gilbert. Yeah,
Joe Gilbert, for sure. Again, when Byron Leftwich called a run play, he did not want or expect 1.7 or 1.2 yards per carry. So they got to get better.
They had one run for like 5 yards, and I almost fell out of my seat. I was so shocked.
Wow, that's a long run for the Bucs.
Yeah, and it was probably like 2 yards and 3 yards after initial contact for Keyshawn Vaughn. So it's a hard-earned 5 yards, not exact. Yeah.
So let's move on to our second topic: right guard battle. Alex Cappa versus Aaron Stinney. Okay, so this is a battle according to Bruce Arians. And listen, he's the judge and the jury here. He believes that there's a battle. I kind of think there is one too, not based in training camp. I think Kappa's played really well in practice. In the one-on-ones, I thought he's really shown some marked improvement as a pass protector. He didn't give up a sack last year, so he's, it's not like he was bad to begin with.
Right.
But the thing is, both of those guys are in a contract year. Stinney really came on, and this team has the trust in Stinney from what he did in the postseason. But Alex Cappa, in a very small sample size in 2 games, has not played well, especially in pass pro. I think he's opened the door a little bit, and I think that if Cappa doesn't have a good game on Saturday and Stinney does, that's going to create some questions for the coaching staff. Not saying that Kappa's not your day one starter, but it will give Stinney an opportunity to creep up a little bit. I still think this is Kappa's job to lose. That's what Bruce Arians said. Even if Cappa doesn't play well and Stinney does, I still think they give the benefit of the doubt to Cappa. What do you think?
I still think at the end of the day, this is Kappa's job. And, I'm not a firm believer in, a starter gets hurt or something happens And then when they get back, that they deserve to just automatically get their job back. Because if another guy shows up, again, like if it's Leonard Fournette in the postseason or what Stinney was able to do, if another guy shows up and just over excels and does great, then yeah, they deserve to be there because you want to put the best product on the field. As you just said, Kappa's done a very good job in training camp, in practice every single day. And while I agree, he struggled a little bit, even in a limited amount of time in that second preseason game. There was a blitz. There was a sack on the one of the first or second drives that it may have been Stinney's fault. Kappa's fault.
Yeah,
one of those situations. Yeah, one of those situations we think it was. We're not 100% sure because with all the assignments and everything.
Right.
I don't think he has struggled enough to the point where it's like, okay, I think we need to switch it right away. So I'm still in the camp of that. It's going to be Kappa's job. I do think Stinney has closed the gap for sure.
Yeah.
I think the interesting part is, as you said, they're both free agents. If you go to the bargaining table and Kappa's like, hey, I've been the starter for a little while now, I want more money. But the Bucs could argue with, okay, well, Stinney, we could probably get him to be the starter for way less money because he only was the starter for that postseason. And besides that, he's been a backup. So while he's a little bit proven, he's not fully proven. And I think the Bucs would be comfortable with taking that risk of, all right, let's put him as the starting guard for the 2022 season. And we can save a little cap room because the Bucs are still in that situation where they're going to have to try to re-sign and still juggle some things to keep the best roster intact that they can possibly do.
All right, Matt. So do you believe, would you bet money that there's any way Aaron Stinney is not the starter on opening day, barring injury, of course? But if he's not injured, is there any way, would you place a bet that Aaron Stinney beats out Alex Kappa, or is Alex Kappa, whatever happens on Saturday night, he's the starter, going to get the benefit of the doubt against the Cowboys?
I think Kappa gets the benefit of the doubt, and I would put my money on Alex Kappa being the starter for the home opener September 9th at home against the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't know if there's a prop bet in my bookie for that, but what I do know,
they have a lot of prop bets.
They do. But what I do know is winning season has returned at mybookie.ag. It's time to get in on the action. First-time players can get started by doubling your first deposit. That's going to give you the firepower you need to add excitement to the game that you love. College football odds boosts, NFL lock of the season, and over $500,000 in contest prizes. Live on site to make this winning season, your best ever at MyBookie. Folks, not only do they advertise with us on the Peter Report podcast, I think this is year 4 now, maybe year 5. I play MyBookie every year. I love it. It's fun. It's so easy to use with the app, the website, easy to navigate. If you haven't been to MyBookie, just go to mybookie.ag. Just check out the website. I think you're going to like it. And if you're there and you do like it, listen, a historic 18-week schedule is coming your way, and they're going to have more action than ever. You need a sportsbook casino that's reliable. You won't find a better place to play than MyBookie. I know if you're going to bet this season, you're going to do the smart thing. You're going to sign up at MyBookie. You're going to use that promo code PEWTER to get your first ever deposit match dollar for dollar, all the way up to $1,000. So if you deposit $1,000 with the promo code PEWTER, they're going to give you another $1,000. That's extra money credited to your account instantly, just for using the promo code PEWTER, making your first deposit. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Make sure you check that out. Scott, I have no reason to lie. I enjoy gambling, especially during football season, especially college football and the NFL.
Do you like to drink, Matt? Do you like to drink beer too?
I like to have a cocktail here and there.
Okay. All right.
And you have to go to MyBookie. You could already put in bets for the Bucs. I may or may not have already taken the Bucs -6.5. The odds keep going up. The spread keeps going up because
the Bucs. I absolutely took the Bucs like big time.
Yeah, I think they're going to win by double digits, but make sure you go to MyBookie because you can get good odds there. You can do a ton of prop bets too, whether it's Mike Evans, whether it's Chris Godwin, anyone you want. There's so many different options. There's so many different fun options, whether you're betting college football, NFL.
It used to be a great prop bet that I used to bet on. Anthony Auclair with a touchdown. It was like ridiculous odds, like $1,000, 1,000 to 1, whatever it was. And I bet on that for the first couple of games until they removed that as an option. And I was really pissed.
They heard you.
I was pissed at Dirk Cutter. Like, listen, no one's going to be covering Anthony out player. You use him down there by the goal line as a blocking tight end. Slip him out, throw him a touchdown. It's a gimme. Even Jameis Winston can't miss him. But they never did, and I never got to cash in. And I'm pretty pissed about it to this day.
Well, so hopefully they'll win you some money this year, and you can get over it.
Yeah, didn't have a great year last year. Last year was tough because I do a lot of college football betting.
I'll never forget. Oh, you know what? I have to air this out. It was Notre Dame against Alabama in the college football playoff, and you were like, "All right, Alabama, they covered the spread or whatever." And then Notre Dame scored a late, garbage time touchdown. I still remember that because as a gambler, you remember the losses more than you remember the wins. Yes. I was like, "Damn it, Scott! Come on, we had that. You jinxed it." But anyway. Hopefully you'll win more than you lose for
the
this
last
season.
2 years. I've won a crap ton of money betting K-State versus Oklahoma. For whatever reason, we have Oklahoma's number. I don't know why. We're a mediocre football team, but man, we can dethrone Oklahoma. So we'll see if that holds true this year again. I'm sure that there'll be big underdogs. I'm still taking the Cats. Okay, so let's get back to our depth chart battles. We've gone through the first two. Wide receiver 5, Tyler Johnson versus Jalen Darden. We were kind of led to believe, Matt, that at the start of training camp, all the buzz, and it was legitimate buzz because you had seen a lot of Jalen Darden and the OTAs, the rookie minicamp really flash. You heard Bruce Arians gush over the guy. But the lights came on. He's not Kenny Bell, okay? He's not a bust. He's not Dexter Jackson. He's just a rookie that's kind of feeling his way. We saw a couple of gaffes on Saturday night versus the Titans. We saw the fumble, trying to do too much on the punt return. We saw him catch what looked like a first down pass for 13 yards. He took a step back, tried to do a college juke move, got a 12-yard gain instead. The Bucs went for it on 4th and 1, didn't get it. Lesson learned. But Tyler Johnson, this guy, after being called out for being a touch overweight and out of shape at the beginning of camp, has caught everything his way in the games, in practices. I think he's on, week 3 now of a really good football. And I think Tyler Johnson has surpassed Jalen Darden on the depth chart in terms of that wide receiver 5 battle behind Scotty Miller, Antonio Brown, and Chris Evans. Chris Evans. That would be
Captain America, yes, of course.
Yes, Mike Evans
and Chris Godwin.
But honestly, together, I mean, they are Chris Evans, are they not? I mean,
yeah, they are technically.
Yeah, I mean, they're Captain America.
We got to get a Photoshop of them in Captain America gear.
I think that's definitely in the coming weeks here. We'll have to put that together. What do you think about that wide receiver 5 battle, Matt?
As Michael Scott once said, my, how the turntables, because you're right. All the buzz was about Jalen Darden and everything that he was doing. And Tyler Johnson got chewed out by Coach Arians publicly to the media. It was a big deal. We had stories on it on PeterReport.com. But these last 2 weeks, Jalen Darden keeps hurting himself because he's making these drops. And again, I'm not going to say that he's going to be a receiver for the rest of his career that has drop issues, but you saw it in the game as you just explained.
Yeah.
And Tyler Johnson, on the other hand, maybe he needed, maybe not necessarily motivation from Coach Arians himself, but he needed a little something to motivate him more. And I think that competition against the Titans really brought out the best of Tyler Johnson. It motivated him more than just like, okay, I'm showing up to practice today and we're going to do whatever. Because he wasn't just playing well in these one-on-one matchups and any battles he had against the Titans. Tyler Johnson, for the reps he was getting, was dominating out there.
Yeah, he really
was. He made a great one-handed
spectacular catches, yeah.
He had this unbelievable, almost stop-and-go type of move where he left the defender trailing him by at least 5 yards. It was like one of those moves where everyone was like, ooh, you see it live like that. I honestly think, and it probably won't happen this year, or at least for the beginning of the season, you could start looking at a battle more for Tyler Johnson taking some of Scotty Miller's reps.
Well, that's
than just taking Jalen Darden's reps.
Who asked, is Scooter a lock for a wide receiver 4 ahead of Tyler Johnson? I'm going to get your thoughts in a second. Here are my thoughts. I'm not saying that Bloom is coming off the Scotty Miller rose. Not yet. But there's a reason why they drafted Jalen Darden. He's not as fast in terms of vertical speed as Scotty Miller, but he can do more. He's got more wiggle. He's got more stop-start ability. He can juke you. He can throw the brakes on and then accelerate a little faster than Scotty Miller can. The problem is Chris Godwin's going to make a fortune next year. He's got the franchise tag this year, so you're going to have 2 receivers making over $16 million a year come next year. They're not going to be able to afford a high-priced third wide receiver. And I'm not saying Scotty Miller is going to be deserving of that necessarily, but if he does well, right, if he scores touchdowns and becomes sought after on the free agent market, they're not going to be able to afford to re-sign him. Not with Vita Vea's contract coming up, not with Devin White's contract coming up, not with Tristan Wirfs' contract coming up in the future. So they have to get another guy in the pipeline to replace Scotty Miller when free agency hits. And I think Jalen Darden was drafted because he can do a little bit more. He's not the deep speed demon guy that Scotty is, but he's close. And I think he's a little bit more. If you were to take Jalen Darden when he's catching everything, he is between Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown. I think that's kind of what Jalen Darden, what they envision his role being. And so that being said, if you're a one-trick pony and you're the deep guy, but Tyler Johnson could get in there and do some blocking, play the slot, play outside, and he's catching everything, maybe he does end up as wide receiver 4 when it's all said and done. What do you think?
Right. And Darden got some opportunities in that first preseason game where they looked at him down the field, and there was 1 or 2 that was overthrown. Another one, he didn't make the play. And those are correctable things on both sides. Eventually, Darden can start making those plays once he gets a little more sure-handed. But yeah, with Scotty Miller, again, another thing Bruce Arians spoke about a lot was Scotty has to make those grimy catches. He has to do something a little bit different. Now, granted, if Scotty is going to keep dominating with those downfield plays and the defenses just refuse to adjust to it and game plan for that, then sure, Scotty Miller is going to keep his job as the number 4, and he's going to get all of those great opportunities. But we've seen in the preseason so far, you had that one downfield ball to Scotty Miller where he wasn't able to keep his foot in bounds. It could have been a little bit of a better throw from Ryan Griffin, granted. But outside of that, the only other way Scotty really gets the ball is when they try to do a little bubble screen to him. Outside of that, I would have to go back and look again, but he's not getting those other opportunities. Right. He's not getting targets his way over the middle or making a sideline catch.
You have Jalen Darden, who's getting punt return reps, right?
Exactly.
And Scotty Miller is not taking control of that in practice. He can make himself more valuable, but he really can't do anything on special teams, right? He's not big enough to go down and cover punts and kicks. And
right. He's not playing special teams at all.
Return game, right? He's not a factor in special teams. So that, and it's not like Tyler Johnson's a world beater on special teams. He's no Justin Watson, at least not yet. But at least he has the ability to do those things. So we're not hating on Scotty Miller. We're not. We're just
we love Scotty. He's a friend of the program. Yes, He's been on the show. So,
but we're just saying it real.
That we are. We're not just gonna fluff up some of the players because they've either been on our podcast or we just think they're good players and things like that. If someone's struggling or not doing what the coach is asking them to do, or we're not seeing them take their next step forward, we're going to talk about it. We talk about everything here on the Peter Ford podcast.
Yeah. Well, listen, and they like a deep threat too. I mean, they do, right? He has a role. It's important, but that's kind of the role there. So let's carry on, shall we? Let's see what the next topic is. I'm going to do a little house cleaning there because we had a not so great contributor.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what's going on there?
So let's talk about this. Linebacker 4 battle. KJ Brett, the rookie, versus Grant Stewart, the rookie. Don't think that Joe Johnson's done enough. I mean, he had a great play, the pick 6, But I think this team wants to keep one of their rookies. And is it going to be Britt or Stewart? I would say heading into the game, it was going to be Britt. He got the start. He's played better on defense until Saturday night against the Titans. And Grant Stewart just showed up. 6 tackles, got a sack. I don't particularly think either one of these guys is a great fit. I think that KJ Britt is a little bit of a less athletic Kevin Minter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Grant Stewart is. I don't think you want him on defense in a real live NFL game. Special teams, maybe. He's got some speed. He can get down the field, but he's got short arms. And is he going to miss tackles once he gets down there? I don't know. How do you see this battle shaping out here? We'll get back to Hudson and Mickens, but I wanted to get to this battle here because we've been talking offense. Let's get a little defense in here.
Yeah, Scott. Looking at all of these battles, the KJ Britt versus Grant Stewart one was probably one of the battles that I was struggling with the most for who I would pick out of the two. Because there are certain things, obviously they both have their flaws, but there's certain things that I like about both of their games. For Britt, while he's not the fastest guy, I think he's shown a little bit better acceleration than maybe we expected. But the thing I like about him the most is that he is a bit of an old school player where he brings it when he hits someone. You hear that thud when he makes plays. And we see that with a guy like Jordan Whitehead, how important that is to this Bucs defense in particular. Yeah. And I really enjoy that. Now, Grant Stewart, I love his overall charisma and enthusiasm that he brings to the game. He just runs around all the time like he just drank a bunch of Celsius. He's like extremely energetic. But he had a really interesting comment after the preseason game where he spoke to us. And he was talking a lot about, what he likes about playing in a Todd Bowles defense. And one of the things he really talked about was just that, when he was playing at Houston, he was like a hybrid safety linebacker where he was playing nickel. He would be in coverage. Now he's really learning how to be a full-blown linebacker in this type of defense where he's in the box the whole time.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a fantastic point.
So he's still learning.
Behind the learning curve,
Yeah, so he's still learning that position itself during this whole training camp as he's trying to make the team at the same time. And obviously, if he makes it, he's going to have a role on special teams. And he talked about that too, where that first game, he was so nervous about being in the right spot, making the right play.
Right.
And he said he just went back to his keys, did a lot more, film study and things like that, where that second game, he just let it develop and he let the game come to him. And we saw him with all those improvements because you looked at first preseason game.
Yeah.
And obviously you would give the nod to KJ Britt, but that second game clearly was all about Grant Stewart. So they're going to have a really good battle for that third preseason game where whoever comes out better might get one of those final roster spots. It's one of those things where my head says KJ Britt, my heart says Grant Stewart.
I'm with you on that.
It's I think it's really one of the closer battles that we're going to see. I think I'm going to go with Stewart if we have to pick one. Just because I think that learning curve and him being able to understand more, granted with his flaws, I think especially if he's going to be a special teams guy.
Yes.
I'm going to give the edge to him, but I think like whoever makes the roster, the other one will be on the practice squad. So you're going to get to see both guys.
Yeah. Now, when you're talking about Stewart, Matt, you're really talking about the ultimate underdog, right? This is a guy who's Mr. Irrelevant. Right?
Yeah.
But yet, I mean, he's the underdog, but he's not the only underdog we're going to talk about today.
He is not. We're also going to talk about Underdog Fantasy, another sponsor here on the Peter Report podcast. Let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. I'm super excited about this website because they got a lot of awesome stuff for you. If you're a fan of football and especially fantasy football, you make sure you go to underdogfantasy.com and sign up with the promo code Pewter, and you'll get $25 free, and you could sign up.
Boom. Free money right there.
Free. Absolutely free with the promo code Pewter. But Underdog Fantasy, obviously there's so many different, fantasy football things going on here, but Underdog Fantasy has a great website layout. They have all these different contests where you can go and draft a team in leagues that are $1, $3, $5. They got more expensive ones that are $25 and $50. It's a great way to help prepare for your fantasy football league. You draft the whole team. You set it and forget it. You don't got to worry about
set it and forget it. Because here's the thing: people say, "Scott, you must play fantasy football, right? You cover the Buccaneers. You're tuned into the NFL." No, I have tunnel vision on the Buccaneers.
Exactly.
I'm bad at fantasy football because I'm locked on, this Tampa Bay team here, and I really don't know what's happening in Cincinnati, nor do I care, or Houston, or especially the AFC, right? Except for the teams the Bucs are playing. But this is a league where you draft once. There's no start-em and sit-ems. You draft your entire team. They pick the best scores, so there's no starters and bench. It's whoever scores on your team. The best quarterback gets the points, even if three of your guys.
And that's what makes it so important in finding those late round sleepers, because it doesn't matter if you pick them in the 15th round. If they go all out for a game, they're going to get you the points so you can win that week. And also make sure, and this is where that $25 free credit comes into play. Underdog Fantasy always has so many different contests and tournaments, whether it's a season long or just a weekly daily fantasy thing. But they got another big tournament coming up. It's called Best Ball Mania, where you pick your best team. It's going to be a total of $3.5 million, okay? And that's where you use that $25 credit. First place gets $1 million. So even if you come in 10th place, you're still coming away with a big chunk of money, all because you got that free $25 credit. Another big thing that Underdog Fantasy has, and I'm a big fan of, is they have these little prop bets as well, too, where you could pick, for example, let's just say the first game of the season, who's going to have more receiving yards, Mike Evans or Amari Cooper? You know it's going to be Mike Evans, so you could put some of that money on Mike Evans, and after the game, cha-ching, you get that money right then and there. So go to underdogfantasy.com, use the promo code Pewter, and get a free $25 credit to Underdog Fantasy.
I love it. That sounds good. I'm actually going to be signing up for 2 or 3 leagues. I like the big money leagues, so I'm going to be doing that.
Me too.
That's kind of we got Mitch here calling you.
I
promoting
that,
his vice. Yeah, I love it. That's good stuff.
Do it responsibly.
Yes, no doubt.
Responsibly.
So let's wrap up the show here with some of these other training camp battles, shall we? Now, we skipped one because I'm a defensive guy. I'm itching to talk some defense after all these offensive guys. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention Tanner Hudson, Mr. August, versus Jaden Mickens. Now, why is this a battle? Because they played 2 different positions. Well, it might be a thing where they keep 7 wide receivers and 3 tight ends, or they keep 6 receivers and 4 tight ends. Historically, they've kept 4 tight ends and 6 wide receivers, but it could go the other way this year. And the reason why is because Jaden Mickens is still the best return guy on this team. And he's actually played pretty well as a receiver in training camp. So I don't know if Tanner Hudson, if he doesn't play well in special teams, if he doesn't block, he could be a candidate for the practice squad. It'd be fascinating to see, but how Mickens fares in the return game, how he fares as a receiver, I think is going to be calculated against how Hudson fares as a blocker and on special teams, because we know we can catch the ball. And that might be something the Bucs are weighing. 7 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends, 6 wide receivers. Who are the 6? Well, let's run those down because Mickens would be number 7. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, otherwise known as Chris Evans.
Chris Evans,
America. Yes. Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, and number 6 would be Jalen Darden.
Jaden Darden.
Yeah. So, Jalen Darden.
Jalen Darden.
Jaden Mickens.
Well, I was going to say we can mix them up again, like Mike and Chris, because they're very similar guys, and they've struck up a very good friendship as well too. And I'm not saying Mickens is going to make the team because of this, but he's taken a mentor role to Jalen Darden at a position where this guy, if Mickens doesn't make the team, it's going to be because Darden and Johnson are the guys that are going to pretty much take his job. I think too, what hurts Hudson is he's not really a factor on special teams. And again, Bruce Arians, as we spoke about, not a fan of his blocking at all. And you got to think the Bucs offense, because you have Mike, Chris, and Antonio Brown, they're going to be in a lot of 3 wide receiver sets where they don't necessarily need to have 2 tight ends on the field. So it's not really going to have the Bucs in a situation where they want to keep that 4th tight end. And if they do need that 4th tight end, again, because you have Adams and you have McElroy and you have Hudson.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're going to keep all three in the practice squad, but you're going to be able to stash one or two of them where if there is a situation where one of the guys gets hurt, you can quickly bring them right back up. I think Mickens, his value.
Who was the fourth tight end last year?
Anthony Auclair.
AA, right? Anthony Auclair.
And let's not forget, Tanner Hudson did not make the roster coming out of the season. He was cut and put on the practice squad.
Right. And where was Anthony Auclair by midseason at the end of the season? He was inactive, right? Because they went with Joe Haig as the extra blocker of the line of scrimmage.
Exactly.
I think Josh Wells could be that guy this year. And, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Saturday is a big game. If Mr. August can shine again, listen, let's favorite. I mean, he's a favorite of Bruce Arians catching the ball. Bruce hates his blocking, but damn it, he loves when Tanner Hudson catches the ball, right? So if Mr. August leads the team again, it bodes well for him. If Jaden Mickens comes out and does well in the return game, they may just be tempted to keep 7 wide receivers. So we'll see. Let's finish up our list, shall we? This has been a fun little discussion today.
Yeah.
Back to defense. Cornerback 5. Another Bruce Arians favorite, D. Delaney. He can't stop talking about D. Delaney.
Always talking about D. Delaney.
Or Antonio Hamilton, who is the favorite of the Pewter Report staff, namely John Ledyard and myself, and I think you too. I think Hamilton's just been the better corner, but there's this infatuation with D. Delaney. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think Hamilton's a touch better than Delaney, but it's going to come down to how these guys play in the second half against the Texans to determine who wins cornerback 5, because we know cornerback 4 is Ross Cockrell, who's really been a star of training camp. Has not played that great in the preseason games, but in practice, I mean, he has been a head turner.
Oh, he's been the man. Yeah, preseason, I would like to see Ross Cockrell step up a little bit in the run game. He missed some tackles. And
he's not a big guy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something where he can improve on. Hamilton, I mean, between training camp practices and the game itself, he keeps making plays, whether he's made a lot of interceptions and pass breakups in practice. I love the way he
hell of a tackler.
Yeah, I love the way he blitzed off the edge. It was a run blitz in Saturday's game, and he got to the running back in the backfield for a tackle for loss. I really like what Hamilton brings to this team. It's not that Delaney's been bad. He's obviously been solid on special teams, and that's what Bruce Arians has praised him for.
Right.
But as he's been solid, he hasn't been like, oh my God, you got to see D. Delaney. Like, I almost think Keyshawn Vaughn has stood out more as a gunner than D. Delaney has. So I got to give the nod to Hamilton, and I'd like to see what he can do a little bit more. Like, give him some more opportunities on special teams. If you're going to say that this is what it's going to come down to, give Hamilton some more special teams opportunities.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. So rounding out our list. Now, this is interesting. This is something that John Ledyard kind of brought up in our Pewter Report group text. And I think it merits some discussion, and maybe John will talk about it later in the week. But let's see what we're talking about here. DL6 battle. Patrick O'Connor or Steve McClendon, the old wily veteran at age 34, 44, 54, however old he is. He's getting up there.
54
at some
year old
point in time, at some point in time, the clock's going to run out on Steve McClendon. Now, they traded for him last year. He played a great role on this team. When Vita Vea was out, he paired with Nacho inside, helped at nose tackle, did a good job, right? But when Vita Vea came back, they kind of had one extra defensive lineman there. And I just wonder, with Vita Vea already being healthy and having a good camp and a good preseason, if you cut Steve McClendon, the chances, Matt, of him getting picked up by other teams with his age are probably nil, right?
I think it would have to be another situation where he joins a team that is already a contender. If the Packers feel that they need to beef up their run defense, what
I'm saying though is there's a pretty good chance that if you cut Steve McClendon, he's probably on the street in case you need him. Right, if something happens to Sue or Vea or Nacho, you probably re-sign him a couple weeks later. It's my guess.
Yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
Because the thing is your 6 defensive linemen, as I see him right now: Vita Vea, Dominic Sue, Will Golston, Raheem Nunez-Roches, otherwise known as Nacho.
Of course.
Pat O'Connor, he's already made the team. Bruce Arians said
that's what Bruce Arians said.
Damn it, he deserves to be on the team.
Special teams guy. Special teams
arrow
guy.
is pointing up. He had a block punt against Denver last year, had a sack against the Vikings, had a sack against the Titans. I think that this guy he's what you want at the bottom of your depth chart to push those guys ahead of him.
Yeah.
And then you got Khalil Davis, who I think has flashed. I think he's got a bright future, still learning the NFL game with speed. But can you afford 7 defensive linemen? I don't know. And I would rather have a younger Khalil Davis, who I don't think you can sneak on the practice squad, by the way. He flashes too much. I'd rather have Patrick O'Connor for special teams. Damn it, he's already made the team. Why are you even talking about it?
Right, yeah.
The thing is Pat O'Connor being on this team going to cost – is it going to cost Steve McClendon a spot? Because I think they're going to want to keep Khalil Davis. Or are they going to find room for 7 defensive line?
I think it'll be so tough to find that much room. And it goes to overall what we've been talking about, that this roster is so talented. So you're going to have to make some difficult cuts in that situation. It's so funny because going into training camp, I don't think anyone thought that McClendon's job was really going to be in jeopardy. But I think that speaks more to, because like Pat O'Connor's been on this team because of what he can do with special teams. I think
in years past, he would bounce up and down from the practice squad to the roster. He was that guy. He was literally guy number 53 on the team. He was the guy that when there was an injury somewhere else, you cut him, you put him back in the practice squad for a week or two, and then you bring him back up and you put him back down. He was number 53. Now, I think he's at least 52. Maybe 50, maybe 49.
I think it speaks more to just the step forward that Khalil Davis has taken.
Yeah.
Really. I think that's going to push out McClendon more than anything else, because we've spoken a lot about how the defensive line in particular is up there in age, whether it's McClendon or obviously Ndamukong Suh, and eventually you're going to have to get younger. But it's like, do you want to find that out next season, or do you want to get it started right now? And I think we're obviously going to find that soon after Saturday's preseason game. And after the way that they played after the second preseason game, it seems like the best move for the Bucs would be, let's get that influx of youth and talent now, then see what you got next season.
Defensive line drafts have not been good the last couple of years. For whatever reason, it's just kind of
a factor too.
Vacant position at defensive tackle, trying to find good ones, right? That's been
tough.
So a couple of things before we get out of here. We do have a little bit of overtime today. We want you to subscribe to our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. I'm looking at the dashboard right now, Matt. We are sitting at 4,993. We are 7 subscribers away from 5,000. We have 202 people at least right now in YouTube looking at this. So just by the end of the show, a couple minutes, I want 7 of you at least to click subscribe. It's free. It's not like we're charging you anything. It's free. Just hit the subscribe button on your YouTube account and follow Pewter Report TV. Follow our channel, hit subscribe to it. Get us to 5,000 today. Let's do that. Let's do it. Now,
please.
The other thing is I got to mention this again. We got a special new show coming up, and it's Pewter Game Day, right? It's not just Pewter Game Day. It's Bucs Texans Pewter Game Day, Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. What are you going to find when you log on to pewterreport.com during the game? Well, you're going to find the video player with live in-game commentary from John Ledyard and the Pewter Reporters, expert analysis and injury updates. Watch it live on pewterreport.com. Matt, you made a great point. It's like watching our draft day show.
It's the draft day show, but you're only watching it for the game itself, so it's not 15 hours long. Yeah. You can watch a big play from the Bucs and then see what we have to say about it, see our initial reaction as the play goes down, and that's going to be the funnest part. Think about when Brady throws a 50-yard bomb to Scotty Miller, or Mike Evans makes an insane red zone catch. You could see our reaction. You could see us, I don't want to say go crazy, but you could see us feel some type of way about what's going on.
Yes.
We'll give you all the analysis, all of our insight.
I guarantee you, if Leonard Fournette drops a pass, if he misses a hole, if he fumbles the ball, you will hear a Leonard!
That's the other side of it, too. A lot of Leonards, a lot of Rojo yelling, a lot of just everything. Because you're going to see us animated.
8 o'clock.
Going crazy.
We're not showing the game on pewterreport.com, only John's face, and he'll be reacting to the game. I'll pop in, you'll pop in. We've got some guests that'll pop in. But you watch the game at home. John will watch the game, and we'll all talk about it online. You can ask questions, do super chats, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And it should be a hell of a good time on
and then
Saturday night.
The podcast 1 hour or so after the game. So don't forget about that too. You're going to get all of our live reactions for the game, us going crazy, us responding, and then you'll get the podcast on top of that. So a ton of coverage on pewterreport.com for this preseason game and the whole season going forward. Speaking
of reaction, Matt, it's that time.
Yes, it is.
It is that time. Matt, do you like playing with balls? No, I'm not talking about footballs. I mean your balls. Our friends at Manscaped, the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming, want you to shave your pubes. With the Tom Brady of ball trimmers, the brand new Lawnmower 4.0, only the GOAT technology for the greatest balls of all time. They're yours. When you're going towards the end zone, make sure that you got the right tools for the job and choose Manscaped. 2 million men, including myself, including Matt, including John, JC, I would imagine as well, trust Manscaped with their movement, okay, to provide the best grooming tools. This right here, the Lawnmower 4.0 with the LED light, it's fantastic. The best part about it is use promo code, it's a new promo code, Pewter20, Pewter20 to save 20% off and free shipping, okay? So it's a fantastic deal. Now, the world is starting to open up. The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is here to get you ready. Inside, you're going to find the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker ear, hair, and nose trimmer, the Crop Preserver, and Crop Reviver. Now, the Crop Reviver is the toner, and the Crop Preserver is the ball deodorant. Okay, you're going to get all these gifts, plus performance boxer briefs, and this travel bag they call the Shed, which is a really high-quality bag.
Yes, it is.
Travel bag.
Super useful.
It is. So you're going to get all of those things, and you're going to take your defense to the next level. This is a 4th-generation trimmer, features cutting-edge ceramic blades to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their their advanced skin-safe technology. So this is going to give you the most precise shave, and the 4000K LED spotlight really helps out. It's waterproof, so you can do it in the shower, you can do it in the pool, the hot tub, whatever you want to do. It's a fantastic product. I use it. I probably would not have purchased Manscaped. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't believe in the concept. So they gave it to us for free because, hey, we're promoting it. I use it.
So do I.
It's fantastic. I should have been using this a long time ago. I wish they had this back in college. That probably would help out a little bit. So the promo code is Pewter20. You're going to save 20% off when you make a purchase, and you're going to get free shipping. But listen, it's not just about that. We have Pewter Report T-shirts to give away. We have new stock. This is the pewter color. Look how the logo pops on that shirt.
That was what I was thinking. Pop. That shirt pops.
Pewter. We got white for hot days in Tampa. We got black. So I'm giving those away for free. All right, you can pick one color. I also have found these 3 left. Super Bowl DVDs. So if you, a loved one, a friend, if you don't have this thing yet, go ahead and get it. You can get it for free. All you have to do is make a purchase at Manscaped. Then email me your proof of purchase. The great thing is it doesn't have any of your financial information. Don't want it, don't need it. It does have your address. I do need that. So I can ship you either the shirt or one of these. This is first come, first serve. 3 left. Listen, I'm 49 years old. The easiest way to Christmas shop is not to wait until December and then blow all of your paychecks on gifts. Start shopping now, right? You buy a little bit each month, September, October, November. That way you're not cash crunch in December, whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Kwanzaa, whatever it is. The great thing is giving you this for free. This is a great gift for the Bucs fan in your life. You can hang on it till the holiday season if you want, or give it to them now. Got 3 of them left. Make a purchase at Manscaped, 20% off. Use the promo code Pewter20, free shipping. Email me at sr@pewterreport.com, sr@pewterreport.com. your proof of purchase and let me know if you want the t-shirt, what size, what color, or if you want the Super Bowl DVD. I got 3 left. First come, first serve.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Manscaped. Always a fun promo ad when Manscaped is on the podcast. That will do it for today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera. Thank you all for watching another episode of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.